Krishna. Hare. Okay, fine. So Sutta Goswami, he starts narrating the various incarnations of Lord Krishna. And before he starts narrating, he first explains about the universal form of the Supreme Lord. Now, we need to understand that in the Bhagavad Gita, also the universal form was revealed to Arjuna. And there is a lot of controversy, or there is a lot of discussion about the universal form of the Lord. What is the universal form? And many of the acharyas have given the descriptions. So Sutta Goswami is answering all those questions and speculations, that in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation. And then he manifested all the ingredients of the material creation. And thus, first there was a creation of there are 16 principles of material action, and which helps the creation becomes possible. So, we need to understand that the Lord is the only enjoyer and all others are to be enjoyed. And the living beings are predominated enjoyers, but the eternally conditioned soul, forgetful of this constitutional positions, they have a strong desire to enjoy this material world. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes very clearly that when we were in the Karan Sagar, when the Supreme Lord impregnates Prakriti, at that times the jivas are in Karan Sagar, and from there we can see the spiritual world and we can see the material world as well. And there we desire to go and enjoy in the material world. So those fortunate souls who are in this material world, they come to this material world, but they surrender to the lotus feet of Vasudeva, then they become liberated and they come out from the cycle of birth and death. And so there are so many such fortunate souls. All of us, we are practicing Krishna consciousness by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master. So we are all fortunate souls. And certainly after practicing Krishna consciousness, we entered the abode of the Lord. But we need to understand what happens to those souls who are not able to perfect their life. So those who cannot perfect their life, what happens to them? That they merge into Mahat Tattva at the time of annihilation. And then the Mahat Tattva merges into the Supreme Lord Narayana. So, and when the creation happens again, when the creation happens again, then Brahma sprouts up, and then the creation again takes place, and again the living entities, they become active, and they get a chance to come to this material world and complete their they get a platform to practice Krishna consciousness. So what we need to understand, what is this Mahat Tattva? Primarily, the Mahat Tattva is divided into 16 parts, namely the 5 gross elements and the 11 working senses. Now, we need to understand Mahat Tattva. It is like a cloud in a clear sky. In a spiritual sky, there is all effulgence of Brahman which is spread all around, and the whole system, the whole spiritual sky is like a dazzling spiritual light. And Mahat Tattva is, as it is said, that Mahat Tattva is like a cloud in the clear sky. The Mahat Tattva is assembled in some corner of this vast, unlimited spiritual sky, and the part of which is covered by the Mahat Tattva, which is called as the material sky. Now, majority of the whole of universe is, the majority of the sky is spiritual, but a small part is called material sky or Mahat Tattva. And within this Mahat Tattva, there are innumerable universes, and all these universes are collectively produced by Karanadaksha Vishnu, which is also called as Mahavishnu, who simply throws a glance at the Prakriti or the material nature, and then the souls, the when a person impregnates a woman, when a man impregnates a woman, what happens? A child is born. Similarly, when the Mahavishnu impregnates the Prakriti, the jivas are taken birth. So we need to understand this science. So a part of Purusha, it lies down within the water of this universe, and from the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from that lotus flower, Lord Brahma is born, and who creates the universe. So the first Purusha is Karanadaksha Vishnu. Okay, and from his skin holes, innumerable universes have sprung up, and in each and every universe, the Purusha, the Karanadaksha Vishnu Purusha enters as a Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And he is lying within the half of the universe which is full with water of his own body. And from the navel of the Garbhodaksha Vishnu has sprung the stem of lotus flower. That is the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all the living beings and the demigods, the chief engineer. Now, within this stem of this lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems. And the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems and topmost systems, which are called as which can be extended to Brahma Loka or Satya Loka. And downwards, there are earthly planetary system. There are 7 downward from the earthly planetary system. There are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. So now the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, there comes an expansion called as Shirodaksha Vishnu, who is the collective Paramatma of all the living beings. Now, in simple words, we have the Lord residing as Paramatma in our hearts. So that is an expansion of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So this is what has been explained. So therefore, the conclusion is that the Purusha avatar is the manifested in 3 features. One is the Karanadaksha Vishnu, who creates the aggregate material ingredients in the Mahatattva. Second, the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who enters in each and every universe. And the third is Shirodaksha Vishnu, who is as Paramatma of every living, every material objects. So one who knows these features of the personality of Godhead knows Godhead properly, knows the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead properly. And then the knower of such knowledge becomes free from the cycle of birth and death. So this is Suta Goswami is explaining this this subject matter. And then he starts explaining, he helps us understand that the devotees with their perfect eyes see the transcendental form of the Lord of Purusha, who has thousands of legs, thighs, arms and faces. All of them are extraordinary. And the Lord's form, the body of the form, the Virat Purusha has thousands of heads, ears, eyes and noses, and they are decorated with thousands of helmets and thousands of glowing earrings and are adorned with so many garlands. So gradually now Suta Goswami begins explaining in more details. He says that sa eva prathamam deva kaumaram sargam ashrita chachara dusharam brahmacharya makhanditam. He's saying that first of all, in the beginning of creation, now the creation was done in the beginning of creation, there are 4 unmarried sons of Brahma, that is the 4 Kumaras, who were born and who took a vow of celibacy, and they underwent severe austerities to realize the absolute truth. So we need to understand that the creation of the material world is affected, maintained, and then again annihilated at certain intervals. So there are different names to the creations in this material world. The different names are given to a particular creation. As per how are the name defined? As per Brahma. How if you know that there was a pastimes in 10th Canto that when Brahma saw 1,000-headed, 6-headed Brahmas, 10-headed Brahmas, 20-headed Brahmas, and so many different types of Brahmas, so he got bewildered. Once Brahmaji came to Dwarka, and he told the doorkeepers that please inform that Brahma has come. Now the doorkeepers went inside and explained to Lord Krishna that Brahmaji has come. So Krishna sent a message back, asked which Brahma has come. So Brahma came to know which Brahma. I am the only Brahma. Where are different? Is there any other Brahma? And then he said that, tell Krishna that the father of 4 Kumaras have come. So then he went inside again and said, okay, tell him to come inside. So when Brahmaji came inside, what did he see? Brahma saw that there are 8-headed Brahmas, there are 10-headed Brahmas, there are 20-headed Brahmas, there are 100-headed Brahmas, and there are 1,000-headed Brahmas sitting in the assembly of Lord Krishna, and they're discussing with Lord Krishna. And so this, our little Brahma, Hare Krishna, please mute your audio, please. And our little Brahma, he understood about the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. So the Kumaras which are mentioned in this verse, they are actually coming in the Kumara creation of the material world. And to teach us the process of Brahman realization, they have underwent severe austerities and severe tapasya. Then secondly, Sutta Goswami mentions that the second incarnation is the boar incarnation, and which came to help for the welfare of the earth. He lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. Now Hiranyaksha, he kidnapped Mother Earth and he kept her in a rasatal. So we need to understand, picking up something from a filthy place is done by the boar. And the all-powerful Supreme Lord displayed this wonder to the Asuras, so who had hidden the earth in such a filthy place. So the Lord Krishna, he actually has appeared in all kinds of species. Now we can see the Lord has appeared in Matsya Avatar and so many different incarnations we'll see, but these are limited. But Lord has actually appeared in all the different kinds of species. And so here Lord has appeared in the form of a boar. Now boar is not considered very something very amazing, it's a very dirty animal. But the Lord has come in the form of a boar, and he has helped deliver Mother Earth. The third incarnation is accepted as a very powerful incarnation, is Narada Muni. He's an empowered incarnation in the form of Devarshi Narada, empowered incarnation. Now, the great Nishi Narada is actually an empowered incarnation, but he propagates devotional service all over the universe. All the great devotees of the Lord, all over the universe and in different planets and in different species of life, are disciples of Narada Muni. And Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam, is also one of the disciples. So Narada is the author of Narada Pancharatra. And what does Narada Pancharatra speak? It speaks about it is the exposition of the Vedas, particularly for the devotional service of the Lord. It's a very beautiful book, Narada Pancharatra. If there is, it's also in the Veda base. If you get time, then please read this one, Narada Pancharatra. Then fourth incarnation is Naranarayana Rishi, the twin sons of the wife of King Dharma. And when we offer our pranams, Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudirayat Nashta Prayashu Bhadreshu. When we offer our prayers, we actually offer our prayers to Naranarayan Rishi also. Naranarayan Rishi, the Narayan is still worshipped in Badri Narayan as Badri Narayan, and in the range of Himalayas. If you go to Badrinath in Indian northern side, north of India, then but in Badrinath still the Lord has been worshipped. And then the fifth incarnation is of Lord Kapila, who is the foremost amongst the perfected beings. He gave us now we need to understand that he explained Sankhya philosophy. Now we need to understand what is this Sankhya. Now these subject matters which incarnations are there, it's are long subject matters and we can speak on them, but we are just sticking with, because we need to cover the whole chapters, we are only summarizing, briefing we speaking on very brief on each incarnation. So what is Sankhya philosophy? The sum total of the creative elements are 24 in total. And each and every one of them is explicitly explained in the system of Sankhya. Now, European scholars, they call Sankhya philosophy as metaphysics. Now, so for the first time, Lord Kapila explained this Sankhya philosophy. There was never explained before. So he is the fifth incarnation. The sixth incarnation is of Atri, son of Atri, sage Atri. That is Dattatreya. He was born from the womb of Anusaya, and we need to understand what is the story behind that. Once the history of the birth of Dattatreya as an incarnation is mentioned, that in Brahmanda Puran, there was a great sage called as Atri, and his wife was Anusuya. She was a very chaste lady of her husband, and she prayed sincerely to Lord Brahma, to Lord Vishnu, and to Lord Shiva, requesting him to please become as their son, become as her son. So she requested all three of them. So all three of them accepted her prayers, and they came as Dattatreya. So Dattatreya was an incarnation of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh together, but it is counted mainly under the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. And there is also a explanation in the 10th canto that Dattatreya Rishi explained the transcendental knowledge to Prahlad Maharaj, Yadu, Hayhaya, and Alarka. So this Dattatreya Rishi is very knowledgeable, and he was Supreme Lord himself, and he explains the most confidential thing to Prahlad Maharaj. These are explained in the 11th canto. Then in the seventh incarnation, the Supreme Lord came as Yajna, the son of Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Akuti. And now this, we need to understand that the administrative posts which are occupied by demigods for maintaining the regulations of the material world are actually offered to them because they have some special piety. But when there is a scarcity of such pious living beings, the Lord himself incarnates and takes the position as Brahma, takes the position as Prajapati, and takes the position Indra. So there was a time during the period of Swayambhu Manu, there was no suitable living being who could occupy the post of Indra. Therefore, the Supreme Lord Yajna himself came and occupied this position of Indra. So, and Yajna, he ruled very nicely. He ruled very nicely and was very appreciated by everyone because his Supreme Lord was the Indra himself. Now, the eighth incarnation is of King Rishabha, who was the son of King Nabhi and Meru Devi. Now, King Rishabha was an incarnation of the Lord. He instructed his son to follow the path of perfection by tapasya, which sanctifies one's existence and enables one to attain the stage of spiritual happiness. So we need to understand that Brahmacharya ashram there is tapasya, Vanaprastha ashram there is tapasya, and certainly Sannyas ashram there definitely tapasya is there. Only some license is given in the Grahastha ashram, but in Grahastha ashram also one should not license is there, so one should not try to enjoy this world, but one should also be very careful in staying Grahastha ashram. How are we engaging our senses? So King Rishabha's teachings are in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they're very famous teachings. So they're very helpful. They're very, very powerful, and if one reads them, certainly one will develop detachment from this material world. So the ninth incarnation is of King Pruthu, now King Pruthu, before the advent of King Pruthu, there was a great havoc of maladministration due to the vicious life of the previous king. And what happened was that King Vena, who was the previous king, he was a big rascal, and he did not accept Supreme Lord, but he started considering himself as the Supreme Lord, and he wanted that everybody should worship him. So the Brahmanas, they got offended and they cursed him, and they cursed him to death. So after that, lot of thieves and rogues, they increased in the city, in the whole of the earth. So the Brahmanas, they prayed to the Supreme Lord, and the Lord Pruthu, Supreme Lord Pruthu was born. And Maharaj Pruthu was very powerful king, and he took good care of his citizen, and all of them in all the citizens became good devotees. And there is a special lecture also address of Maharaj Prithu to his citizens, and one must read that, because that will help those who are in the managerial position, and if they want to know how to, it's a actually Vedic leadership course. The speech of Prithu, King Prithu, is like a Vedic leadership course in itself. So devotees, or the devotees who are in superior positions in management, if they want to know how to manage and how to take care of their citizens or their subordinates, then they should definitely read those instructions of King Prithu. And then there was a complete inundation after the period of Chakshusha Manu, and the whole world was deep within water, and the Lord came as Matsya avatar. So Jiva Goswami has given definite proofs from the authoritative scriptures that there is always a devastation after the end of each Manu. Each Manu. Now Manu has a certain time period, so after each Manu there is a devastation. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur also supports this, and then he also quoted that from Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that after the inundation of Manu there was an annihilation, and that was a time when the Supreme Lord came as Matsya avatar to show some special favor to his devotee Satyavrata Muni. So we need to understand the Lord is so kind to his devotees that if there are some unallowed devotees of the Lord, then the Supreme Lord can do anything to help them. Just like the incarnation of Lord Narasimha was not planned incarnation. It was exclusively for the pleasure of, for protecting Prahlad Maharaj. So we need to understand this. So next incarnation, the 11th incarnation is of a tortoise. When the demigods and the demons they were churning the ocean of milk, at that time the Mandrachal mountain was used as a churning rod, and the shell. So when the demigods wanted to churn it, the Mandrachal mountain used to sink inside the ocean, and so the whole program of churning the ocean was disturbed. So the Lord himself came as a tortoise, and then the Mandrachal mountain became the resting place, the pivot of the hill in the sea water. So the Mandrachal mountain was resting on the Lord's back. And then in the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari. Dhanvantari is a very special incarnation. If somebody is sick, it is said that while taking any medicine, we should chant Dhanvantari, Dhanvantari, Dhanvantari. This is all the Ayurvedas acharyas they say. And Dhanvantari is a special incarnation, and it brought the pot of nectar from the churning of the ocean. And and then there was a whole fight between the demigods and demons for that nectar, and the Mohini came, and then it helped the demigods to get the nectar. So there is a long subject matter. So the Dhanvantari is especially the Ayurvedic acharyas. If you go to any Ayurvedic doctor in India, then they will be certainly worshipping Dhanvantari. None of their activities will begin without worshipping Dhanvantari. I was once in a place where I met one Christian doctor, but he was also an Ayurvedic doctor. Although he was from a Christian background, he was not a Hindu or some devotee, but he was very much worshipping Dhanvantari before he could start the treatment. So the Ayurvedic acharyas, their deity Ishtadev is Dhanvantari. In the 14th incarnation of the Lord is Narasimhadev, and Narasimhadev appeared, as I told you, Narasimhadev appeared to protect Prahlad Maharaj, and he killed the atheist Hiranyakashipu. Just as a carpenter pierces a cane, Lord Narasimhadev pierced Hiranyakashipu. And then then the further incarnation is Lord Vamanadev. Now Lord Vamanadev actually came to shower mercy on Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj also, although he was a demon, you need to understand that Bali Maharaj was born in a demonic family, but there was one good fortune for Bali Maharaj, that he took shiksha from his spiritual master Prahlad Maharaj. So Prahlad Maharaj planted the seed of devotion in his heart, in the heart of Bali Maharaj. And so although Bali Maharaj was a demon, from externally he was behaving and acting, and he was performing his duty as a demon, but internally he was practicing Krishna consciousness. Internally he was a very staunch, he had a very unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord. And because of that devotion within his heart, we need to understand that devotion is not an external thing, it is a matter of the heart. And the Supreme Lord takes a note of devotee's sincerity within the heart. We cannot cheat the Supreme Lord. That's why it is said that we have to practice Krishna consciousness very with sincerity. And because Supreme Lord in our heart, he takes a note of everything. If you're not practicing Krishna consciousness seriously, then Lord will not reward us the results as we are supposed to get. Now it's very simple thing, like if there are students who are appearing for some exams, and if they don't study seriously, what will happen? They won't secure good marks. So similarly, if we are not sincere in our devotional service, then we won't get the desired result, which is the darshan of the Supreme Lord, which is the attaining the abode of the Supreme Lord. It is not possible. So we have to be very, very sincere. And because Bali Maharaj was a sincere devotee of the Lord within his heart, externally he might not be, but internally he was very, very sincere devotee. And the result of that sincerity and the shiksha and mercy of Prahlad Maharaj was that the Supreme Lord Vamanadeva personally came to him. And the fruit of devotion, was of Bali Maharaj's devotion was that he got darshan of the Supreme Lord. And when he got the darshan of the Supreme Lord, Vamanadeva showed such causeless mercy on him and made him and granted him his pure unalloyed devotion. So Bali Maharaj, so the fifth incarnation of the Lord was Vamanadeva, who came and delivered Maharaj Bali, and he took away everything, but he granted him pure devotion. So the next incarnation, the 16th incarnation, is Lord Parshuram. So you need to understand that the Kshatriyas, or the administrative class of men, are expected to rule the planet by the direction of the Brahmanas, or the intelligent class of men. But sometimes when the Kshatriyas are disobedient, then the Brahmanas, then Brahmanas, they pray to the Supreme Lord, and then Parshuram comes and he destroys all these rascal Kshatriyas who are not following Brahmanas and who are not following the instructions of the Brahmanas. Now, you need to understand that like Duryodhana also was a good administrator, but he was not a devotee. And if the king is not a devotee, then how will, because the responsibility of the king is to help his citizens to cross over the material existence. But if the king is not the devotee, then how will the citizen become devotee? So it is very important that the king should be in the path of dharma, and that's why the king must take directions from the Brahmanas. And whenever Kshatriyas they become independent, that time the Supreme Lord comes, and what happens is that Parshuram came, and 21 times, being angry on the Kshatriyas, he completely destroyed them. Even it is said that some of the Kshatriyas who were in the womb of the mother, they died because they were afraid of coming out. And then the 17th incarnation of the Lord is Srila Vyasadeva, who appeared in the womb of Satyavati by Parashara Muni. And Vedavyas divided one Vedas into 4. Now we need to understand Veda Vyasa. Veda means Vedas, Vyasa means divided. The person who divided Vedas is called Vedavyas. So the name itself has his work also. So there was initially one Veda, but Vedavyas divided into 4. And then also they were again explained in the further different branches in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. So what was the reason behind this division? Because people in this age of Kali are fully ignorant. And Srila Vedavyas divided Vedas into various branches and sub-branches for the sake of less intelligent people, so that they can easily understand the Supreme personality of Godhead, and easily understand how to live happily in this material world. Then in the 18th incarnation, uh, the Lord appeared as King Ram, Lord Ramachandra. Now, the personality of Lord Ramachandra assumed a form of a human being, and he appeared on the earth for the purpose of giving pleasure to the demigods, and also to maintain the order of the universe. The Lord Ramchandra, he exhibited very superhuman activities which no human being can perform. Now, one or two of the examples is that Lord Ramchandra, he made an royal road on the Indian Ocean with stones. Now, when the Supreme Lord was on the bank of the ocean, one of the main concern was that how to cross this ocean, Indian Ocean, and go to Lanka. And not only Lord alone, but there was a huge army of monkeys was with him. So the Lord requested this the demigod, but he refused to come. So finally, the Lord got angry, and he was about to dry up the ocean, but the demigod appeared, and he requested Lord Ramchandra that please build a bridge. If your devotees, if the monkeys, they write Ra on one stone and Ma on another stone, and they stick them, then the stones will stick with each other. And then in this way, you can make the whole bridge, and all your army can cross over. So, and there were two architects, Nal and Neel, in Lord Ramchandra's army. So the demigod requested that this Nal and Neel will help that. So the Nal and Neel, they started the work. So they wrote Ra, Ma on one stone, and then Ma on another stone. And when they brought together, it got stuck with each other like a magnet, And with the help of that, they built the big bridge. And it also shows that he made the Lord Ramchandra's holy name. It made the stones, even with stones, lighter. The modern scientists have done research in the area of weightlessness, but it is not possible to bring in weightlessness anywhere and everywhere. But because the weightlessness is the creation of the Lord, because the Lord has made the gigantic planets fly and float in the air. So he made the stones even within the earth to be weightless, and prepared a stone bridge on the sea without any support of a pillar. Now, this is the display of the Supreme Lord's power. Then in the 19th and the 20th incarnation, the Lord advented himself and came as Lord Krishna and Balaram. Krishna Balaram ki jai. Now, the specific mention of the word Bhagavan in this text now indicates that Krishna and Balaram are the original forms of the Lord, and this will be we'll understand about more in detail about how Lord Krishna and his activities are in the 10th canto. So Krishna and Balaram are directly the Supreme Lord. Sometimes, many times, especially in India, recently my father, who was in Vrindavan, he was asking, so what is the position of Balaram? Who is Balaram? So Balaram is actually Krishna. Balaram is the first plenary manifestation of Lord Krishna. So we need to understand this, that Krishna and Balaram, they are one and the same. And then in the beginning of Kali Yuga, now further two things which we are going to do, further two incarnations which are mentioned by Srila Shrutha Goswami are been foretold. Now we need to understand that this Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken 5,000 years back. Even from now, let's go 5,000 years back, this Bhagavatam was written at that time. Now 5,000 years ago, there were two foretellings been told. Now this verse is a foretelling. What is the foretelling? Is that in the beginning of Kali Yuga, the Lord will appear as Lord Buddha, and he'll be coming as the son of Anjana in the province of Gaya, just for the purpose of deluding those who are envious of the faithful theists people. Now we need to understand the Lord Buddha's incarnation appeared 2,500 years before from now, and this description is mentioned 5,000 years back. So this proves that Srimad Bhagavatam is foretelling is foretelling things. Lord Buddha was a very powerful incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and he appeared in the province of Bihar in Gaya. There is in India there is a state called as Bihar, and there is a very place of pilgrimage called as Gaya. And there is a nice temple of Lord Vishnu. It's a very famous temple, and it is said that those who want to perform Pindadan, one should go there and perform Pindadan in Gaya. And it is said that one who performs Pindadan in Gaya, he's definitely the person for whom which you are performing this Pindadan, he'll definitely be delivered. So at the time when Buddha appeared, the people in general were atheistic, and they used to kill animals. They used to prefer animal flesh to anything else. And why? And they were following the Vedas. They were saying that in their Vedas there are some sacrifices mentioned. So they were using Vedas, and practically every place was turned into slaughterhouse. And that's why Lord Buddha preached non-violence, taking pity on these poor animals. And he preached that he did not believe in the Vedas, and stressed that the adverse psychological effects of killing animals. So Lord Buddha did this because the situation was such. And he established the principle of non-violence, and which is like a moral discipline, and these are one of the preliminary steps for proceedings further for God realization. So Lord Buddha established these principles of non-violence. And then it is said about one more foretelling is here, that about Kalki incarnation. It is said that after the conjunction of two yugas, the Lord of the creation will take his birth as Kalki. And even his father's name is there. He'll become the son of Vishnu Yasha. And when will he appear? He will appear in in a place in this age of Kali. Everything is mentioned. And concerning the advent of Kalki, it has been said that he'll appear at the conjunction of the two yugas, namely at the end of Kali Yuga and the beginning of Satya Yuga. The cycle of four yugas, namely the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar and Kali, rotates like the calendar months. Like we have January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Then again January begins. Similarly, Satya, Treta, Dwapar, Kali, and then again Satya begins. So at the conjunction of the two yugas, Kalki is going to come. So present age of Kali is 4,32,000 years, out of which we have already crossed 5,000 years, 5,000 some years. And that is after the battle of Kurukshetra. So 5,000 years have happened during the time of Kurukshetra, for the battle of Kurukshetra. So more we have 4,27,000 year balanced with us. Therefore, at the end of this period, the incarnation of Kalki will come. And this is been foretold in Srimad Bhagavatam. The name of the father is Vishnu Yasha. And then there is a village called as Sambhala, which is also mentioned. So everything has been told. And now Sutta Goswami is telling to these Brahmanas that, my dear Brahmanas, don't think that I have explained you some incarnations, so these are it. No, the incarnations of the Lord are innumerable. You cannot count them. Actually, the list of incarnations are mentioned here are not complete. It is just in partial view of the Lord's incarnation. There are many others like Hayagriva, Hari, Hamsha, Vrishnigarba, Vibhu, Satyasena, Vaikunta, Sarabhoma, Vishwaksena, Dharmasetu, Sudama, Yogeshwara, Bharat Bhanu, and so many other incarnations are there. But these are there in different Puranas and all. But nothing has been explained here. This is just small portion are been explained. And then Sutta Goswami is saying that all the rishis, the Manus, the demigods, and the descendants of the Manu who are especially powerful are actually planetary portions, or the portions of the planetary portions of the Lord. But Sutta Goswami then says that Ete Chanshakala Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indriyari Vyakulam Loke Mradayanti Yuga. This is one of the most important verses. Even Jiva Goswami in Tattva Sandarbha, he uses this verse to explain so many things. So all the above, we have discussed so many incarnations. So all the above mentioned incarnations are either planetary portions or the portions of the planetary portions. But Lord Shri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. Now all of them appear on the planets whenever there is a disturbance created by atheist. Now we need to understand that whenever there is a disturbance in this planet Earth, the Supreme Lord comes. But that disturbance has to be major disturbance, not that for small things he comes. For small things, he sends his representatives. So we need to understand that Lord Jiva Goswami, he mentions that Lord Krishna is the source of all the incarnations. And it is not that Krishna has any source of incarnation. All the symptoms of the Supreme Truth in full are present in the person Lord Shri Krishna. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord has emphatically declared that there is no truth greater than or equal to him. Now in this verse, Ete Chansha Kala Pomsam Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. The word Swayam is particularly mentioned to confirm that Lord Krishna has no other source than himself. Although in other places, the incarnations are described as Bhagwan because of their specific functions, but nowhere it is declared them as the Supreme Personality. In this stanza itself, Sutta Goswami is saying that Ete Chansha Kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. So this signifies the supremacy as a samam bonam. And Janma Ghuyam Bhagavato Ya Etat Prayato Naraha Sayam Pratur Grunam Bhaktya Dukkha Gramad Vimuchyate. So whoever now there is a blessing here given by Sutta Goswami. Whoever carefully recites the mysterious appearance of the Lord with devotion in the morning and in the evening gets relief from all the miseries of this life. So if anybody wants to completely get relief from all the miseries, if one is in a very miserable situation, then he can read this first 29 verses, which mentions about the Lord's various incarnations in morning and in the evening. So this is what Sutta Goswami is saying. And then Sutta Goswami, he further explains about the Virat Rupa again. And he also explains about when a person experiences by self-realization that both gross and subtle bodies have nothing to do with pure self, at that time he sees himself as a Lord as well as the Lord. Now we need to understand that if we are in a dark room, we are where there is no light at all, very dark, then we won't be able to see ourselves also, and neither will be able to see things which are nearby. But whenever there is light, when light is there, we can see other things as well, and we can see ourselves also. Similarly, when we understand Krishna, when we hear his name, his fame, his pastimes, his activities, and when we try to understand Krishna, try to realize Krishna, then naturally all of his own will also be self-realized. So the reference, this transcendental knowledge, knowing this transcendental knowledge about the Supreme Lord helps us become self-realized. So man who is engaged in the activities of the self is called Jivana Mukta, or liberated person, even in the conditional existence. Even though the devotees here in this material world are in this material world in the conditioned state, but because they are on the path of self-realization, or they are on the path of knowing about Krishna, and they are making their sincere efforts, so they are called as Jivana Mukta. They are called as Jivan Mukta. So if the illusory energy subsides and the living entity becomes fully enriched with transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord, then he becomes at once enlightened with self-realization. And thus he, Srila Prabhupada writes an example in the purport. If there is an electrician, he can utilize the electrical energy for both heating and cooling by simple adjustment. He uses some instruments, and then he can make, an expert person can make heater, and then we can use of that power supply, can make an AC also. So similarly, the external energy which is now bewildering the living being, but if that living entity develops a desire to know about Krishna and and tries to understand the supreme truth, then by the mercy of the Lord, that same Mahamaya, by the mercy of the Lord, will be converted to Yogamaya. So the energy which now bewilders the living being into continuation of birth and death will be turned into an internal potency by the will of the Lord to lead the living entity to the eternal life. So this is what happens by the mercy of the Lord and by the mercy of the devotees. The Mahamaya will leave the control, and Yogamaya will take control of your life. So the learned man thus the learned man describes the birth and activities of the unborn and inactive Supreme Lord in the Vedic literatures. And Sutta Goswami is saying that all of us should try to take shelter of the Supreme Lord and try to understand him. So the Lord whose activities are always spotless we need to understand that conditioned living entities, although they might be on a huge post and positions, but there are some flaws with them. They have 4 defects. So one might be in a very highly position, one might be president of a country, but he will not be freed of lust, greed, or anger. But the Supreme Lord whose activities are spotless. Our Lord's activities, they are completely spotless. Because he is the master of the 6 senses, and he is fully omnipotent with full 6 opulences. He creates the manifested universe, he maintains them, and he annihilates them without being in the least affected. So you need to understand that the Lord creates everything. He maintains them, he annihilates them, but he is not affected by it. And that's why he is called as Amogha Leelaha. He is called Amogha Leela, which indicates that there is nothing lamentable in his creation. So the prime difference between the Lord and the living entity is that the Lord is the creator and the living entities are created. And we need to understand this, that we are not the creator. We are not the creator. Even though the person is maintaining the family, he should understand that he is not maintaining the family, but instead he should have deities in his home, and then he should consider the deities as a controller of the family and one who is maintaining the family, and he should simply serve them as the servant. He should serve the family members and the Supreme Lord, considering them as the servant of the Lord. So by this way, he will be unaffected, although he might be the master of the family. But if he accepts Krishna as the master of the family and he becomes a servant, then although he's in the Grahastha ashram, he's in the material world, he is having family life, but he won't be affected by the family life. Simply by having this consciousness that the Supreme Lord is the master of this family. So this a kind of understanding helps, and this will happen if we hear Harikatha regularly. So the foolish people who have very poor fund of knowledge cannot know the transcendental nature of the Lord's name, fame, pastimes, and activities. Now, the Supreme Lord comes here and he performs so many pastimes. Not everybody can understand. Actually, no one can properly describe the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is said that he is beyond the expression of mind and speech. And yet, there are some men with poor fund of knowledge who desire to understand the absolute truth by speculation. Now, there are 2 classes of men. One are the materialists, namely the fruity workers, and other are the empiric philosophers. The fruity workers have practically no information of the absolute truth, so leave them. And the mental speculators, after being frustrated with so many fruity activities, they turn their faces towards the absolute truth and try to know the Lord by speculation. But the Lord is not available through speculation. He needs to be understood through a proper bona fide person. Because the ignorance, avidya, has to be removed. And avidya will be removed by transcendental knowledge is given by which is given by the spiritual master. And we need to understand that what is initiation. Initiation means the transcendental knowledge which the spiritual master gives to the disciple. That is the real initiation. Initiation just does not mean that the spiritual master gives a deed to the disciple, or he just changes the name. That is also important, that is also necessary, but real initiation is the transcendental knowledge which the spiritual master gives to the disciple. Because if you see, Shukadeva Goswami did not give initiating words to Parikshit Maharaj. He spoke the transcendental knowledge. And by hearing the transcendental knowledge, by hearing the name, form, pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord, Maharaj Parikshit perfected his life. So, it is very important that we take shelter of a bona fide representative of the Lord who can speak Krishna Katha as it is. So, only those who render unreserved, uninterrupted, favorable service to the Supreme Lord Krishna can know the creator of the universe in his full glory, power and transcendence. Now we need to understand that pure devotees can know the transcendental name, form and pastimes of the Lord. Why? Because of they have been completely free from the reactions of fruity work and mental speculation. There is a verse in Bhagavad Gita which is called as Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. Krishna says, my birth and activities are transcendental. So similarly, for pure devotees, for those who are coming from the spiritual world to propagate the message of the Lord, for them also this is applicable. Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam. Even they are not affected by Maya. Maya cannot touch such people. So the pure devotees have nothing to derive as personal benefit from their unalloyed service to the Lord. They render favorable service to the Lord insistently and spontaneously without any reservation. So those who are rendering service unto Him like this, so they are the beloved agents of the Supreme Lord. And we have to render favorable service to such devotees. So if you want to receive the grace of the Lord, we have to serve such devotees to receive mercy of the Lord. If you speculate, if you don't do that, then we'll always remain in darkness. So Krishna has given the secret of how to, because such devotees of the Lord have captured Krishna in their heart. They are controlling Krishna, and if you want Krishna, then you have to take it from them by serving them, by pleasing them. So then Suta Goswami is thanking all these rishis, saying that I'm very, very thankful to you for asking such sincere questions. The 6 questions which are put forward by the Shaunaka rishis. Suta Goswami is thanking them once again here. Because he's saying that only by making such inquiries in the world, one can be successful and perfectly cognizant. Then there are still 4 verses remaining. Suta Goswami says, Idam Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samidam Uttam Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagwan Rishi Nishrayasya Lokasya Dhanam Swaste Ayanam Mahat. So, this scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, which we were discussing, is the literary incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good for all the people, and it is all successful, it is all blissful, and is all perfect. We need to understand that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that Srimad Bhagavatam is a spotless, sound representation of the Vedic knowledge. Srimad Bhagavatam is book incarnation of the Lord Krishna, literary incarnation of Lord Krishna, and is non-different from him. We need to have this faith in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as the Supreme Lord. And thereby, if we can have this faith, this is the most important point. If we can have this faith, what faith? That Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. If we can have this unflinching faith, then we can derive the ultimate blessings of the Lord by carefully studying Srimad Bhagavatam. If we study Srimad Bhagavatam very carefully and patiently, and if we have that unflinching faith that is not different from Krishna, what will happen? Srimad Bhagavatam will reveal itself to us. It will reveal itself. So, as God is all light, all bliss and all perfection, so is also Srimad Bhagavatam. We can have all the transcendental light of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna simply by reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya's private secretary, Sripad Swarup Damodar Goswami, He advised all the visitors who came to see the Lord at Jagannath Puri. What he used to advise them? The advice was, please take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Please hear Srimad Bhagavatam from the person of Bhagavatam. So that was the advice. So one can derive from the study of Srimad Bhagavatam all the benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. What benefit Putana got by coming in contact with Krishna, that same benefit we can get by coming in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam. If you hear that Putana's past deliverance from the hands of Lord Shri Krishna, if you hear these pastimes, then Shukdev Goswami has given him blessings. Govinda labhate ratim, his mind will be fixed in the lotus feet of the Lord. So, Srimad Bhagavatam carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Krishna that we can expect from his personal contact. So, coming in touch with Srimad Bhagavatam means actually we are coming in touch with Lord Krishna directly. So this faith will come if we associate with people who have such faith. So this is the most important thing. So Srila Vyasadeva delivered this Srimad Bhagavatam to his son, who is most respected among the self-realized people. And after extracting the cream of all these Vedic knowledges and histories of this universe, this Srila Vyasadeva spoke this transcendental knowledge to Shukdev Goswami. And then further it said that Shukdev Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, in turn, what did he do? He delivered the Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj, who was sitting on the bank of river Ganges, and he was waiting for his death. So at that time, Shukdev Goswami spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And before the snake bird Taksha could come, Maharaj Parikshit perfected his life by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukdev Goswami, and he left his body on his own sweet will and entered the kingdom of the Lord. So in the one of the famous verses, Krishna swadhama pagate dharma gyana dibisah kalau nashtam drishamesha puranarpa dhunoditah. When Krishna left the abode to his own abode, at that time what happened? When Uddhava, this is a discussion at Prabhas Kshetra, that Lord Krishna was about to leave, and Uddhava came there and he requested the Lord. Lord Krishna spoke Uddhava the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and so Uddhava requested Lord Krishna, my dear Lord, please don't go. Please don't go. If you go, then the Kali Yuga will show its effects, and it will be very difficult for this conditioned living entity to know about your science. So please don't go. So at that time, the Lord said that, don't worry, Uddhava, I'll be personally present in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen just for those people who have lost their vision due to the darkness of the ignorance. And this Puran, this in this age of Kali also, this Srimad Bhagavatam will give us light. And in the last verse, it says that, O learned Brahmanas, when Shukdev Goswami recited this Srimad Bhagavatam, I heard it with rapt attention. Sutta Goswami is saying that I was personally sitting there and I was hearing that. I learned this Srimad Bhagavatam from the great and powerful sage Shukdev Goswami. And now I'm going to try to explain you as it is. So one can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Krishna in the pages of Bhagavatam if one has heard it from a self-realized soul like Shukdev Goswami. Sutta Goswami is a bona fide representative of Shukdev Goswami because he wants to present the very same message which he received from his guru Shukdev Goswami. You need to understand this. If we might be conditioned living entities, but if we want to sincerely present the science of Krishna consciousness, science of Srimad Bhagavatam as it is, then all the mercy of the previous acharyas will flow through us. And in that process, our existence is purified. Okay. So the secret of knowing Bhagavatam, I like to end up our today's class with this. The secret of knowing Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, no one can give rapt attention. Now one should hear Srimad. It is said that one should hear Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention, and then one can realize the presence of Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam in every page. Now, but what is the secret? No one can give rapt attention who is not pure in the mind. And no one can no one can be pure in the mind who is not pure in action. No one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But somehow or other, it is so somehow or other, if someone hears with rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can see Lord Krishna in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the explanation what Sutta Goswami is giving to the Shaunaka Adi Rishis. So thank you very much. And are there any questions? Okay, there are a few questions here. If Kali Yuga is destroying the environment with plastics in the oceans and toxins in the air, what happens at the conjunction of Kali and Satyuga, which resets the environment to a position where goodness prevails and things become conducive for life to once again flourish? Good question. So certainly there is a certainly there will be a lot of changes. A lot of changes will be made, certainly. I have not come across the details of this. Is a very nice question. Certainly I like to go in these details, but certainly there is a kind of annihilation or a small partial annihilation or a kind of dry period or something like that, or before the next yuga starts, like we heard in the case of Matsya Avatar, how he came and there was a kind of annihilation and then the new yuga began. So like this, some things happens in which these things change. Situation changes, everything changes. It is not that as it is, it will be as it is, it continues. No, there will be some change. So if I come across, certainly Prabhu, Nilachal Prabhu, I'll help you with it. Okay. Any other questions? Tejaswini Mataji, any other questions? Do you have any questions? So the next chapter is about, it's very interesting subject matter is going to begin. We are going to discuss about the appearance of Narada. So next 3 chapters, the appearance of Narada and Narada's conversation with Vedavyas. These are very interesting chapters, one of my favorites. And so many nice things are going to come in this. So there are only 33 verses in the next chapter. So I request all the devotees to kindly read the purports to these verses in the next coming 6 days, and so you have to read approximately 5 to 6 verses per day with purports. So if you can read those 5 to 6 verses every day, it will be very beneficial for you. Any questions, dear devotees? Okay, another question is, do we need to study and realize systematically BG, SB and CC2 back home to attain to enter into the abode of Lord, to go to the abode of the Lord? We need to please sadhu, or a person who is a pure and a devotee of the Lord. We have to please him, and then under his guidance we have to practice Krishna consciousness. And we such devotees will help us develop unflinching faith in Srimad Bhagavatam CC, and under their guidance, we have to study Srimad Bhagavatam CC and these Vedic scriptures. So gradually, uh, certainly, uh, coming in contact with this Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Bhagavad Gita, we are actually coming in contact with Lord Krishna and so many other associates. So regularly doing this same thing, what happens is, we are coming in contact with Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, and so many great personalities. So certainly, uh, we become like them. We start imbibing their mood, uh, and all the good qualities of those devotees will come to us, because we are constantly associating with them with the help of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then we will become so much realized to so much self-realized to, that at the end of the life we'll be able to remember Krishna by the mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam and Lord Shri Krishna. We need to understand that by our own efforts, we cannot remember Krishna at the time of death. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, if the Supreme Lord wants, then he on his own will appear in our mind. Because at the time of death, it is very difficult to, we don't know what our situation will be. We might be in coma or accident or this and that. So we have to practice our Krishna consciousness so sincerely and so honestly, that at the time of our death, Krishna will appear in our minds and we will be able to remember him. So and during our current situation, we should always try to remain absorbed in hearing 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 Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, and speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So see you next Friday. Hare Krishna.